Alright, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews, and we are finally going to be talking about the rest of my C2E2 visit, day 2 and day 3. I know I was going to do one on day 2, but man, I was just so exhausted that I couldn't do it, and I was in a lot of physical pain from walking. And day 3, by day 3, I just kind of wanted to go home. Because I had some things I needed to take care of at the convention the last day. So as soon as it was done, it was over. So we're going to talk about what happened after, from here on, after I left the hotel on Saturday morning. I had left off talking to you guys about how I wasn't sure where I was going to park. But I followed the directions properly, went down to 116 East 13th Street, pulled into the only parking place, the only parking garage that was there. Didn't quite look like the picture. The description on the outside of what it was didn't look like it matched my reservation. So for all I knew, I was just parking in a garage and I was going to have to pay for it later. So I go in, and Saturday I was late getting there, so I was not like, I was probably in the third tier of people getting in, and it still kind of felt like, for a while anyway, like Friday at first. And speaking of Friday, I missed some things to talk about, as far as, like, I just talked about who autographed my shit and all this stuff. But there was a lot of cool things at C2E2. They had a classic arcade section where you could play stand-up games, like games that I had never even seen before in an arcade, like for me anyway. But they had like RoboCop, Street Fighter, Spawn, Punisher and Nick Fury get box. There was several other fighting games, Q*bert. You know, it was really cool, and they were all free. There was also a really big online gaming section, so you could play Call of Duty and Fortnite and all that. That never really seemed to be that busy, which was really strange, especially with all the people that were there. There was a huge section for kids, so that, you know, some people could just take their kids and sit down and relax for a while. And as usual, like, just a shitload of people selling all their stuff. Some of it was really cool. Some of it was dog shit. But I mean, for one person's dog shit, you know, another person's, you know, treasure. And, you know, but a lot of it felt like stuff that you could get at a fucking carnival. And, you know, the sucker's born every minute, right? But some of it was really cool. Most of the toys and stuff just really were kind of lame, but not action figures, you know, like, they had really cool action figures. There were multiple places to find some of the rarest Funko Pops, if you're into that kind of thing, were there. You know, I only pick out Funko Pops that really speak to me at the time, and I actually tried to check out some and, like, go, there were a few that I actually wanted. I wanted a Scary Terry from Rick and Morty, but I wouldn't spend the money. I was being a cheap ass. There were plenty of places to buy old comics, braided comics. But at this point, like I said in my first video, I don't even know how much comics are going to even be worth anymore, because the big business here of the people piling on. Like, I see now why I wasn't able to get a copy of Batman number 89. Besides the fact that I took it off my subscription list. Otherwise, I would have had one. The people that were in line for, like, Daniels and Tinian, they had piles of Batman 89s. Like, just stacks that they were getting signed. One person would have like 15 to 20, and it was just this whole group of people that had Batman 89, like over and over and over again. Same with Tinian. They were just signing Batman 89, Batman 89, Batman, and like I said, these weren't a one person with one copy. These were each individual was walking up with like 10 or 15 or 20 copies of Batman 89. So, you know, I don't even want to fucking have one now. And that's again like I talked about on the Friday video, the big business of it of comics. You know, forget that I wasn't there for celebrities this year, which I was. You know, Green Arrow, you know, like Stephen Amell was there, Emily Ricards was there, Ashley Johnson was there, and I really wanted to get her to sign my copy of Last of Us, but she was all sold out. And Ruffalo, I wasn't paying $180. All right, I think Mark Ruffalo is one of the finest actors working today, but I wasn't paying $180 just to have him go, smile, get lost. Um, so that was just that part of it. The rest of the day, like some of the day was great, but Saturday turned into a real just shit show. There were so many people there. If you have no other choice, if you're dead set on going to C2E2 on a Saturday, have fun with that, because I don't think I'll ever go back on a Saturday. Ever. Friday was great. Sunday was fine. Saturday, just everybody's there. And once the crowd got there, it was just wall-to-wall people that it was hard to enjoy myself. And my anxiety was kicking in real bad. If you have that kind of thing, if you have social anxiety, if you don't like to be around that many people, fuck going to this on a Saturday. And everybody that knows me knows how big of a nerd I am. And at the end of Saturday, I was like ready to be like, fucking nerds, get out of my way. And not from lines, just like literally just go away. And I don't know why I keep fiddling with my hair. But yeah, I was ready to climb the walls the rest of Saturday. I had to wait in line for a lot. You know, the lines were much worse. That's kind of where I started hurting and standing. But I still got a lot of really cool things. A lot of really cool comics signed. I tried to get into Tinian's line over and over and over, but I mean, I got Batman 86 signed by Tony Daniels, which was pretty cool. I was going to try to get them both, but I just couldn't get back in Tinian's line. He was never there when I needed him to be. I also found out that I packed another copy of X-Force #1 that Ben Percy signed, and I'm pretty sure at this point, that Ben Percy knows who I am. Now, by the third time we ran into each other, and I don't mean at his table either, he's just like, if he sees Rob from Smirking Gun Reviews, he's going to remember me. And I thought that's really cool. He put 3 markers in his hands like Wolverine claws and kind of like went like at me. I thought that was pretty cool. But I did go back and he did sign my Teen Titans. Let's see if we can get it to show up there actually. There we go. The first appearance of the Batman Who Laughs. It's the variant comic. This is a Comic-Con version, so it had like this layer over it. So that's in there. I had to take that out of the bag to show you guys. I went back to Livio Ramondelli's table to talk to him, and he signed my Killock #3. We are doing the interview on on StreamYard. I got to email him, and sometime during one of the weeks coming up, we'll be doing that interview. Again, that guy was really, really cool. And since this part happened on Sunday, but I bought a couple of prints from him that he signed for me. This one I got from my nephew, this Optimus Prime one. I think that's really, really cool. And these prints, there's not like a lot of them floating around, really. I mean, I guess he takes them to his other cons and whatnot, but there's a limited amount of these, and I think that was really cool. I told my nephew, you can't take it home until I show it on the video. And the one I got for myself was this one. Boba Fett coming out of the Sarlacc pit. Sarlacc on fire. He's partially like kind of scorched, and the Jabba's palace is like in flames behind him. He also signed this in the corner over here. Yeah, like even his like freaking uniform is like partially like the cape's on fire and everything. Just whoops. Really, really cool. I'm a sucker for Boba Fett. What can I tell you? Still, and I know Boba Fett barely was in anything. Now, for some of you, this is gonna be like I don't care, but she was there at the one of the panels at the Marvel booth, and I had Excalibur #1 and Tinny Howard signed my Excalibur. I know some of you guys out there how you feel about that, but hey, it was a free signature, and she did tell me that there's a Gambit story coming up, so I'm hoping that it's a good one, and that's all I'm gonna say. You know. Like, I like Excalibur. I do. I like the book. Sue me. I also got Ed Brisson to sign my variant of Old Man Logan, #50, the last issue of Old Man Logan. And then I also got him to sign the final issue of Dead Man Logan, the final, you know, before he died. Or, hope, you know, maybe this is permadeath, maybe not. Now with resurrection protocols, they could always bring even Old Man Logan back if they wanted to. I talked to Rod Reese, who was a very, very nice man. Very nice, very quiet. But quiet in a good way. You know, he was off the beaten path. He was behind the other Dawn of X guys, and that kind of felt like wrong to me. I felt like he should have been at the same area, because Hickman wasn't at any of the booths. He had his own personal, like, he would only be at the big Marvel booth. He wasn't anywhere near the other Marvel people, and all the other Dawn of X guys were at the same section, but Rod Reese wasn't, and I don't, that didn't sit too well with me, honestly, because it was like Donny Cates, Jerry Duggan, Donny Cates and Stegman, Jerry Duggan, Ed Brisson, Ben Percy, Tinny Howard, and Rod Reese was behind, and it kind of makes me think about what Chris Claremont was saying, and there's another guy we're going to talk about in a minute, about how the artists aren't as important to. It seems like the writing has gotten more important. And while I love good writing, I've said before, good writing to me can make bad art in a comic fine. Not always, but if you can get both together, it's great. I love good artists. I think you want every book to have good art with good writing. It's a no-brainer. But apparently, it's gone the other way towards writing it less than. And I think that's just kind of the. I really don't know how to finish that statement, because I like both. It's just that as I got older, I really appreciate really good writing. But he signed my New Mutants #1 right there. And I was going to get Hickman to sign it, but they only had. This was on Saturday that I had him sign this, and I took it out of my bag. And when I found out that Hickman was only signing 5 things for free at the Marvel booth, it was just, it shouldn't even say for free, 5 things. It was just 5 things only. You couldn't pay to have him do extras. So that was one cool thing, is that there was a limit at how many he would sign for anybody, and you couldn't get back in line because the line was so damn big. There was no way. But it was really nice, and however you feel about this book, he even said like he was going for an 80s look. I was like, well, you did it. You did a good job. And so, speaking of Hickman, who, you know, didn't say much. You know, Percy was very personable. Brisson was very personable. Hickman, he was like Jim. We'll talk about Jim Lee in a little while too. So he signed my House of X #1. You know, this is the blank version. It's got the regular color. I had him sign my House of X #2. It's kind of hard to see where he signed it there, down here. House of X #4. One of the single best issues of comics I've read in a while. And then I had him sign this variant of X-Men #1. And then last but not least, especially not least, because I told him how much I loved this book. I was trying to get any kind of response out of this guy, and he just barely gave me anything. Literally anything. I think he might have said, "Oh, cool." But East of West, East of West #1. I had to. Okay, next up I had to go back to Donnie Cates' stable because Stegman was finally there. So I got him and Cates to both sign my Venom #1. And then Cates had already signed my Venom #3, but Stegman signed it right here for Venom #3. I got Cates and Stegman's #1 and 3. Next up was Scotty Young, and I'm liking this story because I love Middle West. And I did a video, if you guys haven't checked it out before, issues 1 through 3. I plan to go back and continue with those Middle West reviews, same as with East of West reviews. And I told them how much that the story really resonated with me, especially the family dynamic, the father and the son thing, and that I live here in the Midwest too. You know, I live in, you know, the DeKalb County area, so I understand being out here with trailer parks and tornadoes. And he lived down in like near like Champaign or something like that, he said. And I think that's what he said. And that he's living in Kansas City now, but you know, there's not much. Kansas City still has like bad, you know, that kind of weather too. But he signed my I Hate Fairyland #1. Now he was signing 10 for free, so his line was fucking bananas. But so I only brought like 4 things with me because I didn't know that was the deal, man. I have a lot more Scotty Young I could have had him sign, but I Hate Fairyland #1. I actually went back Sunday to get a special one signed. We'll talk about that in just a second. My Middle West #1. My Middle West #3. Why #3? Because it's the first appearance of that guy there. And then my Chip Zdarsky, because he wasn't there. My Daredevil #1 as well. Then Sunday, I was wandering around killing time, literally killing time, because I was trying to get I had missed Brad Jones at his booth, and I went to talk to Olivio, and he wasn't there yet. And so I was walking around, and I remembered that I walked past a booth, and it was a booth for curse words, or at least one of the books at the booth was Curse Words by Charles Soule. And it was the artist. It's the artist, Ryan Brown, who draws like frickin' Leonardo DiCaprio and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood stuttering over here. So I was really excited because I was like, oh, God, you're the artist. I'm sorry. Like, you know, and we got to talking, and we kind of got into that conversation that me and Claremont had where we were talking about artists versus writing, and how it was synergy, and, you know, it's hard to get both right. And I actually, you know, he doesn't watch YouTube. I told him about my channel. He said, see you on the internet. You know, he was really nice though, and I feel like I accidentally might have offended him, like maybe that I wasn't appreciating the art. But I told him I'm going to start reviewing this book. I've been stacking them up. I hadn't read it, you know, and I was like, but I was really excited to, and I told him that I was going to be putting a priority on getting Curse Words reviewed as soon as I can. And I saw that he had this out of print #1 with Scotty Young on there, so he signed it there with the picture of the koala. And then Scotty Young signed it as well, because this is a limited, this is an out-of-print variant for Curse Words. And I did go home, and I did read this book, and holy shit, I can't wait to talk about Curse Words, because this is a dope book. This is a fun book, man. I can't wait to talk about Curse Words. Then there was another panel on Saturday where Al Ewing was on the main stage. I got to walk up on the main stage, like, big deal, right? But Al Ewing was there, and I got him to sign my Guardians of the Galaxy. Whoa. My Guardians of the Galaxy #1. He signed it here, and I know doesn't seem like I've heard bad things, that he's not too friendly with fans or whatever, but he was very friendly to me. I just, I told him how much I was enjoying both Guardians of the Galaxy and Immortal Hulk, which he did sign my #1, Immortal Hulk. And he said, I told him I personally have been enjoying the evolution of this story as it goes along. And he says, expect more big changes coming soon. So, there was only 2 signatures, 1 signature I needed left to finish off the day and be done with all my signatures. And that was Jim Lee. And I was already tired, and I was already cranky, and I was having panicking about where my parking, if my parking space was was I in the right spot? Am I gonna have to pay for my parking again? And on top of that, I had to let down Brad because I felt like I was letting down Brad, even though I know I'm not. Um, because I needed to get back to the hotel to check in again, which was driving me nuts because I knew where the hotel was, but I was so afraid of losing my parking space. Um, so I went downstairs because to get to Jim Lee, okay, get a load of this, all right? And then we're going to talk, let's talk about a few problems before we even get to this. So there is very little communication going on at C2E2. Lines that are formed by people are dashed about because they only want you there for a certain amount of time, and I get that. But they're jamming you in together. People, always get running off to CGC people to get their stuff witnessed, which was another huge, like, people were making so much money. The autographs were actually cheap. It was everything else they charge you with. People were spending $35 for these fucking mugs so that they could get root beer in them. These little copper mugs that people, oh, you could get free refills, and they're $35. And I'm like, $35, suck that, man. So I thought it felt hilarious at how many people were just like, I'm spending $35 on a soda. Oh, it's refillable? Ooh. There's a fucking drinking fountain right over there. But to each his own. To each his own. If you wanted to buy one, there's nothing wrong with it. Me personally, I spent $30 on those 2 prints. And those to me are valuable. Those to me are lasting. A soda in a little cheap ass looking copper mug, I don't care. They're not worth $35. They're just not. So there was that. There was just a little communication. Anytime you left, okay? Anytime you left for any reason, say you wanted to go to McDonald's that's in the building, all right? Because this is kind of going to be like a review of the C2E2 experience. It's kind of like explaining my views on this whole thing. Is if you went down the wrong way, you'd have to go through security, right? You'd have to leave. If you went to the left, say, out of C2E2, you went down and you missed McDonald's, you'd have to go back up, go through security, go all the way around, make sure you go down the right side, go to McDonald's, come back up, go through security, go all the way around, get back in. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that there are just only certain ways to get around this place. And every time you have to go all the way through, all the way around. And it's a long-ass haul back through security again. And at times, security was so backed up on Saturday that it was all the way to the bridge that goes across the concourse to the parking garage. And I'm telling you right now how far that is. It's far. So if you were to just leave, like say you had to run to your car, like if you went to McDonald's, downstairs at McDonald's, to get through security to come back, they would make you go all the way out and around. There's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. Or at least, as the day goes on, shortening it up. But Jim Lee was down where the McDonald's was. I had no idea. I kept going, where the hell is Jim Lee? I even went to information. There were so many people there that were supposed to know, like that you think would know. They have no idea. No idea. Use the app. Fuck your app. Not everybody, like I didn't have anything on me to check all this crap. I was carrying a lot with me, and I just didn't have the time to have one more thing weighing me down. Well, I found out Jim Lee was downstairs by the McDonald's. So I go down there. No security. Quite possibly the most famous person at the event. Okay? I'm not trying to diss all the wrestlers and people from Rooster Teeth that were there. Like, And Mark Ruffalo was only there on Sunday, right? I think maybe Saturday, like for a little panel. I can't remember, but and then the people from Arrow, two people from Arrow, and the rest of it was like uh, three people from Star Trek, and only Shatner was there on Sunday. But Jim Lee is downstairs with no security. You didn't have to go through security or anything. There was nobody down there to protect him. He was in this big side room, right? And my tickets said 10 to 5. So it was like, oh, I have from 10 till 5 to get this done. But when I went down there, he wasn't gone. He was gone, and they were setting up for just the fan experience. And the fan experiences was going till a certain time, and then after that time, it was going to be the CGC people. And apparently, the only time that I could have gone was right at the beginning, at 10 o'clock. But I was told that if we come back at 6:30, we can get it. They're doing like a final round of autographs after the CGC people get their stuff signed and graded. So I'm like, okay, fine, I've got time. So I go to I go get my car, and the pass worked, so I didn't have to pay to get out. But I drove all the way to my hotel, couldn't find a place to park my car. I went to the damn website and I said, I have a car, blah, blah, blah. Oh, no problem. Put my freaking license plates and everything in there. There was no valet. I had to go talk to the guy at Ditka's next door. So first I did a lap and then went to the guy valet at Ditka's and I said, where do I go to check in my car? Or just to check in, where do I park? Because there was like nowhere to park. And so he said, just slide up in front of this like place where trucks coming back out of it, like for deliveries and stuff. And so I went in there and I checked in. Mr. Robert, you are here. And I'm like, yeah, I'm here. And I got my car sitting outside. I'm in a no parking zone. Where do I park my car? Well, for $60 or something like that, the Dickas will valet your car. $65, I think, is what it was. I'm like, what are you talking about? I thought I paid for all this. No. I said, well, where else is there to park? Well, there's parking all around here, but they're all going to be like $53. And I know that you can just say that this is part of it. It is. It's just part of it, right? And I was trying to roll with it. I had the extra cash. Didn't like it, but I had the extra cash, and I knew there was no other options. There were no other options. I could have just went fucking home. That was the other option. So I ended up parking it overnight in a place about a block and a half down. Dragged all my shit in my suitcase and everything all the way back to the hotel, up into the room, where I get in there and I had a Gatorade, right? I thought it was sealed. I immediately put it on the bed and it just spills all over the fucking bed sheet. It was like a stain-proof comforter though, so like it wasn't soaking in it. It just like pooled, and I just dumped it on myself. I was covered in fucking blue Gatorade. I was just pissed. I'm like I'm already having a bad day. It's a long day. Now I'm fucking blue Gatorade on the floor on my clothes. Almost got on the comics. But I got to get back to C2E2 to get Jim Lee's signature. So I get myself together. I change my socks because there was blue fucking shit on them. Changed my shirt. Went back out. Went to find a cab. Finally found a cab. I had to go down 2 blocks to get in a cab, take me back to C2E2. Had the guy just drop me off a block away because there was so much traffic. I go inside, I go downstairs, and I had, all the way through getting into the place again, which was hard enough. And then getting downstairs, going through security, going all the way around, going downstairs, and finding out that the CGC people are all there still. It's 6:30. It's past 6:30 now. And I'm standing there going, I'm basically getting ready to start my own unofficial line because everybody else is like, no, you know, that was done. You're done. You were done. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm gonna stand here for a few minutes and just see what happens. If other people come walking up looking for this, because I was told to come back at 6:30. So I'm standing there, and two guys just kind of come out of the Jim Lee area looking weird, and they come walking up to me and they're like, who are you here? What are you standing over here for? I'm like, I was told to come back here at 6:30 to get my signatures from Jim. And they're like, no, you just come with me. And I'm like, well, wait, they're doing the CGC thing. I don't think I'm supposed to be going ahead of all these people. I'm even trying to be nice. I'm actually almost talking my way out of the autographs. Because I'm trying to be a good guy. I'm trying not to cut in line. I'm trying not to jump where I'm not supposed to jump. And they're like, well, what do you have? What's your tickets? I said, they're just a $50 signature. They're not like anything special. There's no bonus to it all. And they're like, oh, man, you just come with us, man. We're going to get this done. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then I get in there, and they're like, oh, what? Wait, you don't have the $70? I said, no, I had the $50 tickets. I told you. And they're like, well, the worst they can do is say no. And they said, why don't you just go over there to the table? And this is I'm feeling like an asshole because there's Jim Lee sitting right there listening to these people tell me, like, you know, because there's no one in the room but two girls at a desk with scanners, and the guy that was sitting next to Jim was one of the guys that came out to see what was going on, why wasn't anybody coming in, and another guy, I think, that was part of that, like, just they were trying to figure out, I think, that no one was coming in to get their stuff signed, and I think they came out to figure out why. And I just happened to be standing there, and they let me in. And I go to the table with my two tickets, and the girl just kind of gives me this look like, oh, this is from a time when you were supposed to be here. And I'm like, look what it says. It says 10 to 5. I don't know what. I was told to come back at 6:30. Well, we don't even scan these anymore, so you can just give us what you have, and you know, we'll put them on this black board. I had to take them out of the bags and everything, and they just gave it to Jim Lee. I walk up to Jim Lee, who's sitting there, standing there. My most favorite author, my favorite comic book artist of all time is right in front of me. And the guy was like a cold dead fish. And I'm like thinking to all the people that had the fan experience, what the fuck was their fan experience like with this guy sitting here in front of them, giving you nothing? Look, I love his art, and I'm sure he's a perfectly nice guy, but I was just like, you know, I got, yes. So Claremont and Jim Lee both signed my Uncanny X-Men 248. Awesome. I tried to tell Jim, I was like, hey man, this is the first, you know, book I ever got out of a long box. It's been sitting in a box for 30 years, and I'm finally getting your signature on this. And he's just like, basically gave me nothing. And then he signed. So I got Ben Percy's signature on Wolverine #1 and Jim Lee's. And he just seemed like disinterested and didn't give a shit. And I just said, thank you very much, sir, and I left. And I mean, the minor miracle, the small miracle is that I actually got it done. That somehow the signatures happened. So somebody was looking out for me for a second where I was able to skip that whole line and actually get it done. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful that it got signed. I'm grateful that it got done. I'm grateful that I didn't have to waste that $100 of my money wasn't gone. But it just shows even what was going on at C2E2 isn't explained. Why wasn't there any security around the most famous guy at the convention? Ruffalo is famous, right? But not everybody even knows his name. They just go, oh, the guy who plays the Hulk. And I'd say Stephen Amell, maybe. And maybe some of the wrestlers, I don't know. But, like, legit, the president of DC. I'm standing in front of the president of DC Comics. he's the most powerful man in the place, right? I would assume so. And he gave me nothing, and you know, whatever. It's done, and they say don't meet your heroes, right? But I've met some of my heroes during C2E2 when I got to talk to Brad Jones. If you haven't seen the interview, it's on the channel. He is a perfectly lovely man. So, you know, not everybody that you look up to is a piece of crap. And I'm not saying Jim Lee was a piece of crap. I'm just meaning like he just didn't care. Maybe it was a long day. I don't know. But it was just a little disappointing. I didn't know what else to expect, but that's how that goes. And so that was how my Saturday ended. I got back in another cab, went back, had him drop me off at Walgreens. I went in, grabbed a sandwich, 2 waters, a root beer, some licorice, and some chips. Went back to my hotel room, ate it, and was in bed and watching Kidding Season 2 on my laptop at 8 o'clock. And I fell asleep because I was so exhausted. And I got up, checked out at like 7:30, drove down to Lot C where I had another way to park. And Lot C is the way the fuck out of, you wouldn't believe how far we have to drive to get to the turnoff to get to Lot C. It's crazy far from, it's further than you'd think you would have to go when you're putting the damn convention in your rear view mirror and it's getting smaller behind you. And then you finally get to the turnoff. But so Sunday, I just walked in, and I mean, if I hadn't had to do the interviews, I would have just said, I'm going home after I checked out of the hotel. And even when I got inside and I had to sit there for a long time, and I busted out my, I purposely put this in my bag, but I put in the Leviathan Wakes, the first Expanse book, and I started reading it because why not? I had a lot of time to kill. And there were these sick kids in line, teenagers, maybe early 20s, and they're all achoo, achoo. And I'm thinking to myself, with everybody wearing masks for this coronavirus bullshit, I just wanted to go, what the fuck are you doing here? What fucking nerdy bullshit are you doing? Or are you just like, I can't go, I don't care if I'm sick. I don't care if I make others sick. I'm gonna get my fucking little thing signed by some assholes. I actually moved. I don't usually do that where I pick up my shit and I force my way through to a place away from sick people. I usually just sit and deal with it. But I moved away from them because I was just like, what the get the fuck out of here. You're going to make other people sick. And I get in there, and I'm fine. I'm sorry. I know it sounds like I'm just super mad the whole time I'm there, but I'm not. I'm dealing, and I'm stressed, and I'm tired, and I'm hurting. My legs hurt. They're on fire. And it was at that point when I got the Scotty Young final autograph, and Ryan Brown from Curse Words, I got his because I was trying to get a hold of Brad, but he left the booth, and Ramondelli wasn't there. Finally got the interview with Brad, which was great. One of these days I need to sack up and talk to the Channel Awesome people because I haven't really had much contact with them. I've never even talked to Doug Walker. I've stood right next to him several times, and I'm too afraid to talk to him. But I almost talked myself out of, when Ramondelli wasn't there and Brad wasn't there, I almost talked myself out of both interviews. I was going to leave because my anxiety was kicking in, and I'm just like, just go home. Just go home. This is too many weird things have been happening. Just get out of there. But I made myself go and get the interview with Brad, and it's not a perfect interview by any means. There were a lot of things that I didn't say, a lot of things I said wrong, but I'm not going to get myself too much shit about it. I know it was my first time interviewing anyone, and I like the guy, man. He's one of those guys that you just want to hang out with, because I think we have a lot of the same interests and personality wise, whatever. But But Ramondelli, I went back after that. I went to see Ramondelli, and I really was done. There was so many people already, and you could barely move through the aisles. And I said, "Hey, man, why don't we exchange information?" I got his email. I'm sending him my like a message through my email so we can do a video. And I just left after that. I just left the whole thing, and I bought the 2 prints on the way out, and I just went and I got in my car and left. And I got on the highway, and there was a stalled semi that backed up traffic for a while. But once I was out and gone, I was gone, and I was boom out. And by that time, I went and I got a little lost on the way home because there were 2 exits for Marengo, which I thought Marengo is not that big of a place. Why would there be 2 exits? And there apparently was. So I had to get back on the interstate, go to the second one for Marengo, which led me back home. But on the way home, I was like looking at the oil change sticker that you have that says you need to get your oil changed when you reach this amount. And it was like 20 miles past that. So I was like, you know what? Before I go home, before I get comfortable, I'm going to go get my oil changed and get the car washed, and I did all that and finally got home, and now I'm talking to you guys after I just had my first day back at work, which wasn't too bad. And my legs are starting to feel better too. So, look, C2E2 2020 had its ups and downs, and I forget about all the stuff that happened to me outside of the place. Friday was a blast. Friday was a legitimate blast, and if I had just gotten everything done on Friday, I'd have been a happier person. But even on Friday, I could tell you that the disorganization of things, even as organized as it was, and it was trying to be, there are just so many ways that this could be done better as far as getting in and out, not having to keep going through security. They're trying really hard to, I get it. But there has to be some better, quicker, more efficient ways of doing some of this stuff. And people there should know more about what's going on in the place. If there's an information booth, they shouldn't be telling me to go to the fucking app. Jim Lee had no security. What is up with that? There's more security getting in and out of the place to buy fucking t-shirts than protecting the president of DC Comics? And then nobody knowing when to actually be there for each thing, when they're going to just from 10 to 5, my ticket should say when specifically I can be there for my specific thing. If it's only once, if there's only one time of that day, it shouldn't say 10 to 5. It should say 10 to 12. But they didn't do any of that, and it caused a lot of stress. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that experienced this kind of stuff. But, as far as things that were going on there was something for everyone. But the organization is just fucking needs to be worked out. And if you don't plan on spending any money, you don't have to spend any money. You can go there. You can treat it like a big-ass flea market if you want. But if you go there and you plan on eating and drinking and fully engrossing yourself in the thing, be prepared to spend some money. Some real money. I am not turned off by C2E2, but I will not go back on a Saturday. If I go for 3 days, I'll take Saturday and go to the fucking museum or the zoo or wherever. There's plenty to do downtown. I'm just going to skip Saturday C2E2. And if there's something that I can only do on Saturday, well, guess what? I guess I'm shit out of luck. So anyway, wow, I've talked for almost 45 minutes. And like I said, my tone and everything else, there were a lot of good moments. I got to talk to a lot of really cool people. I got to experience what it's like to have somebody that you look up to as far as comics or YouTube, and people knowing who you are, getting recognized by comic book artists and writers, people knowing little old me with my 1,300 subscribers. Getting to talk to Brad Jones was one of my highlights of my life. I'm not kidding, and I know that's like, I don't want to sound like, the jokey, like the Tamara Chambers plays the hyper fangirl. I'm not a hyper fan guy. I got to talk to somebody I really respect, and I hope that I can talk to him in the future because, It's just it's nice to be able to talk to somebody that, you know, does something similar to you, that understands what you do, because nobody here in my area understands what I do or cares that much. There's very few people out there. Don, my friend Don does. He gets it. Most people are just like, yeah, it's great. But that is my C2E2 Day 2 and 3 recap and review of the whole thing. If you liked it, you know, you can hit the like button. Comment, share. If you're subscribed, if you're not a subscriber, we just passed my subscriber count is now higher than my video count. So do me a favor and let's keep that going, because I know how I can crank out videos. I'll be past my subscriber count in like less than a week. So anyway, you can also find me on Twitter at reviews_gun. Otherwise, the next time we do one of these will be for Wizard World this year, so we'll be going to that. We are going to be cosplaying for that one. We're going to be doing, I'm going to be dressing up as Gambit for one day, and I'm going to be dressing up as Patch the other day. If you don't know who that is, that's one of Wolverine's alter egos. And I might wear my Captain America one again for the third day, or maybe I'll just take a break from cosplaying on the third day. I don't know. But thank you guys for watching. If you've gotten this far, wow, you really have my respect. So, this is Robert Smirking on Review saying have a great day, and we will see you on the next video.